So today's talk is a combination of what I'm going to be doing at CodeMash and then what I'm going to be doing at the OWASP meeting in February. That part of it I'm kind of way behind on, so that's going to be a really short part of this talk. The CodeMash part of it is the bulk of it. The one question I have, and just to start out with, is what does your security training look like at your organizations? And I got a lot of laughs, so that's always good. I mean, are we talking lectures? Are we talking once a year, once a month, once a quarter? I mean, how often? What does it look like? Once. And we wonder why we fail. Does anybody want to put anything out there? No? For the most part, from what I hear from different talks and that type of stuff, it more or less sounds like it's once a year training, talks on various topics, policies, that type of stuff, sign off on papers, and we're done. See you next year. A lot of the time, for years now, we've always talked about securing the perimeter, throw everything inside, and we're secure. Over the last few years, 5, 10 so years, we've really started to focus on the human element, on securing our people, because obviously, we're the weakest link of any organization. Whether not patching, not configuring, clicking on things, we are the reasons that everyone's able to get into our organizations. And so our security awareness, has, hopefully is starting to center on the human, the individual, and we're starting to train people more or less because our ISO standards, our compliance standards, our audits, there are always questions about are you training your employees. Here at OE Connection, we actually themed our program called Think Like a Hacker. And when I put that together, I didn't really tell anybody why I named it that, why I themed it that. And talking to my manager at the time, his thought process was more along the lines of understanding the threat type deal. Who is trying to get in, what companies are being breached, how are they being breached, how is OEC set up similarly, and what can we do to fix that. But when I talked about thinking like a hacker, I go well beyond that. To me, hackers, it means innovation. It means, they challenge the they challenge the system, which changes it, and thinking through a problem logistically. So when we talk about computer hacking, it's simply applying logic to electronic parts. When we talk about web application hacking, it's looking at a web application and thinking through everything that's not only it should do, but what is possible to do. And so for no other reason, hackers just basically do things just to see what is possible. They want to understand the how and the why, because that why is really the biggest difference between security knowledge and security awareness. And as Calvin points out here, knowledge is what basically somebody taught us at one time or another. We're just regurgitating what was learned many, many years ago, almost 400 years ago in this case.
A lot of teachers will just tell you we don't really have school systems that encourage the children to think of a problem and what could a solution be. No, just to identify the solution you were taught in this chapter and use that one. So we don't teach thinking as much as we teach, rigorous rote. And intelligence is not defined as somebody having a brain that can think and consider all the possibilities and come up with the best solution. Oh, no. Intelligence is saying the exact same things as everyone else. You read the same newspaper articles, you watch the same news shows, you read the same books, and now you can say exactly the same things about how the world works, so you all know you're a group. It's almost like a religion, and we're all the same, and we're intelligent because I say it and you say it, and you're intelligent, so I'm intelligent. And we never really have a real good way of measuring, are you really thinking and putting it together and coming up with your own solutions? No, we don't define that as intelligent. We often define it as dumb.
So the reason why I wanted to really theme this to think like a hacker is because, to me, hackers are problem solvers. They use some use it for good, some use it for bad. But if I hack a web application, what does that really mean? Am I using some type of magic to get the database to dump itself? No, not really. It's more or less I've invested my time, I've invested my effort, I've made myself aware, got myself involved in understanding how applications work, what can work, what can I do besides that. And then I take that knowledge and I try to either fix it, bypass it, or make it better. A lot of the times we hear different security talks at conferences about how Nikola Tesla's a hacker, Ada Lovelace, Steve Wozniak. I'm going to add to the mix MacGyver. He likes to hack security, or science, I mean. Wouldn't you? But what do they all have in common is basically that they saw, they're inventors, pioneers, secret agents, but they saw a problem and they tried to make it better, right? And I'm not saying we're going to solve astronomical, problems, like stranded space stations or anything, but basically, if you take that mindset of, I care about what it can do, and you try to build that into your security awareness program, you make security engaging, you make it fun, you make it a part of your culture, then hopefully you can affect change in your organization. And last month I talked about how we did that whole hack jam, and we did training, we did games, we did all that fun stuff throughout the month. Just this past month we had our CRM administrator took some of that training that she went through with the CTF training and went through her, the CRM program, and she found some holes and bugs in that. Security issues where, basically any user is able to update a page that should be read-only type stuff. So our customer care came to me with some procedures on passwords and that type of stuff they thought should be updated. And our receptionist actually got the book, what's the name of the book? The Art of Deception. She's actually reading that book. She's interested. She's trying to get involved in that. It's done its job of what I wanted to do, just get people interested, getting people to do it on their own. And that's why I say by itself the security lecture is dead, because if you're only using lectures, videos, blogs, paperwork, and you're only focusing on policies, procedures, and standards, you're only basically sharing your security knowledge. You're very narrow, you're very specific, right? And if our users have their own job to do, they don't have time, if what we're giving them is more or less considered boring, if it's just an added complexity to their job, if it's not thought-provoking, if it's not engaging, we're basically just adding complexity to their job. We're creating a culture of box checkers. Am I doing what I need to do to satisfy security? Am I doing the bare minimum? I need to do, what do I need to do to get the job done? And I see a lot of this on Twitter. Our end users are stupid. They're clicking this, they're doing that. And as much as I agree with, it's time to stop coddling our devs and that type of stuff, I don't really agree with the or else side of it. Because when the culture is nothing but box checkers, you're going to get a gate that's built like this. Does it have a steel frame? Check. Does it have a lock? Check. Okay, gate 1.0 is out the door, right? But then it gets breached. So why did it get breached? Because somebody reached through the bars and unlocked it. So do we have a screen on our gate now? Check. Okay, gate 2.0 is out the door. But if somebody was, if our gatekeepers, if our gate developers, if they're doing more than simply trying to check boxes, I consider that called reactive development. If what's on the security checklist to get out the door for this sprint, security changes by the hour, right? We can't teach everybody everything there is to know. We can't put everything into a checkbox. If somebody was building this gate who was security aware, if they were interested, if they thought through the process, then maybe they would say, you know what, we should probably build this gate higher so we can't just reach over it next time.
Go to places where you can learn these things. I mean, how many of you think it would be cool to be able to pick a lock? That's awesome! Right? Look, that's like most of the crowd. How come y'all don't know how to pick locks? Why? Did you forgot how Google works? You need the tools? I'll give them to you. I don't care. I'll bring down my backpack and you have everything in it. If it gives you one little stitch of inspiration to try and go do it.
So I played this clip last month, but I didn't really get into why I played it. So basically, Chris is talking about lockpicking, right? But if you dig into that message a little bit deeper and pull out, the concepts behind it, we all have these ideas of grandeur. We all have these ideas of what we want to do with our lives, what we want to do with security, what we want to do with so many different things, but we never do. We're always stuck in the planning phase. We're always stuck in, well, that sounds cool, but I'm not actually going to do it because I really don't care. Maybe sometimes we just need, a little engagement from somebody to make it fun, somebody to make it interesting for us. And so maybe things like gaming will actually get our employees, get ourselves over that hump. I had to switch. The reason I installed that hack jam in gaming is because I had to switch gears. I wasn't connecting with our employees in a meaningful way. Security wasn't exciting because sitting in security lectures isn't exciting, right? Users will always find a priority that outweighs having to sit into another boring talk. So I turned to building our training through gaming because I had to adapt. I had to build that connection. And the other part that I really didn't get into last month is where that inspiration came from. I have a friend from high school that was on Facebook talking. He's not really big into sports at all, but he was talking about sports ball. It was around August time, September. NFL preseason was ending, and we're starting to get into the regular season of NFL. And he's talking about, I'm going to start seeing sports ball all over my feed now. And for whatever reason, it's the most ridiculous thing, but it created this Facebook drama of people going back and forth. And he's really big into video games, and he posts things about video games. He's big into Civil War, and he posts things about, he gets himself involved in skirmishes and that type of stuff. And these people are going back and forth about, talking about games, talking about I do sports, and this and that. And I'm sitting back and I'm thinking, isn't the motivating factor behind all this sports, video games, battles, game shows, whatever the case may be, isn't all about competition? Whether you're playing a game for competition purposes, even if you don't like sports, the chances are you like the Olympics. That's all about competition. But competition drives so much of what we do in our life. And I'm seeing all this passion of people defending what they do, why they do it. And I'm thinking, well, how can I get that passion bottled up into our security awareness program? And so that's where I kind of went to work with this. How do I capture that passion with this Hack Jam event? I covered most of this last month, so I won't really get into this too much. But if you have any questions about this, feel free to ask or ask me after the meeting. We did a whole bunch of games. I also have the last slide here. I'll have my WordPress site on there that I have talks about all these individual things. If you want to check that out. But today I'm just going to talk about the CTF and the training that went involved here, the OWASP Top 10, and then we did that broken web training. But one thing I want to really point out before I move on to all that is that our employees have a job of their own to do. They're not sitting in these after-hours NEOISF meetings. They're not watching videos from DEF CON, DerbyCon, that type of stuff. They're not following blogs, following people on Twitter. Us here, people in this room are immersed in this stuff. We're doing this 24/7. We're constantly learning. We're constantly training each other. And to say that our employees, our staff are stupid for clicking on something that we're only training them on once a week, once a year, I should say. Everyone should know that. Well, yeah, but if it's adding complexity to their job, if you're not making it fun, if you're not making it a part of what they do every day, then more or less, I wouldn't care about it, so why should they? The reason we care so much is because we're here, we're involved, and we're doing things like this. So that's really the bulk of my main talk. The rest of this is going to be a talk about the CTF, the training that went into it, So before I get into any of that, is there any questions on or comments or anything on anything we've talked about so far? Okay. So literally, I just put all this together today, and I don't have a defined plan of how I'm going to go about this. So this is going to be a whole lot of. All right. So, I got to put it up there. So for the actual CTF event itself, we used a program called Security Shepherd, which actually you can find right on the OWASP site. No, that's not it. Okay, so Security Shepherd is basically a CTF program that you could use for training, and there's also a feature where you can turn on and turn it into a CTF event. So there's various levels. There's both web app and mobile levels. Under the admin tab here, you'll see the mobile module management. So the way it's set up is basically along the left-hand side here. I have a mouse. You have different scoring levels. So field training are all the easy levels. You work your way down to harder and harder levels. And every single level is OWASP top 10 related of some sort. And so what makes this nice is that you could go through the OWASP top 10 and you could actually pick out talk about what one of the top 10 vulnerabilities are, and then come in here and actually do training with the hands-on. Here, I'll show you a quick. It's a good one. Let's do insecure direct object reference. So at the very first couple levels talk about exactly what is insecure, what is poor data validation. You get a brief little description here at the top, and then the module here at the bottom, you actually get into what exactly, or I'm sorry, the top is what exactly it is. The bottom, it gives you hints, and then you actually get into the actual module. And you're on your own to try to figure out from there how to break into this module. There's a lot of, you have the ability to turn cheat sheets on. So as an admin, I can turn the cheat sheets on. If I wanted to turn it on for my employees, I could do that. But basically the cheat is, we'll just tell you exactly how to break each of these. All the way down the list, it's not just for Admiral, all the way down to the hardest levels. I'll give you a little step-by-step walkthrough. So even if you're not using it for training of somebody else, you could use it for training of yourself just to understand what's going on, why it's going on, what you need to do in order to take advantage of these different OWASP top 10 modules and all that type of stuff. The configuration here will have, you can actually turn on the scoreboard, turn this into an actual CTF instead of just doing training. But what we did is we used a program called OWASP Zap. And everybody familiar with like Burp Suite and those type of programs? So OWASP is, I forgot to move this over. So basically Burp Suite is the free version that OWASP puts out. I'm sorry, Zap is the free version of Burp that OWASP puts out. They just had an update a few weeks ago that fixed a lot of the bugs that I was finding when I was doing the training with everybody. But if you're going to use these programs, one of the things you're going to want to do is get yourself a program called Foxy Proxy. What you can do then is turn on so that all the information is sent right from the browser into Zap. If you have to walk your employees through how to do stuff like that, you're going to lose a ton of people right off the bat. Like when I was doing the training, I told you I had people from our customer care, our marketing team involved. There's no way they're going to figure out what a proxy is, how to set it up, all that type of stuff. So get yourself Foxy Proxy. All you have to do is just click a button, and now all the traffic, I got to probably log back in. Okay, so all the traffic now is being sent over to Zap. Zap has a couple different sections to it. Let me get into the module here. So right now I have it set up to break on every single request coming through. Actually, turn that off. So when we're actually in these modules now, you'll see that the bottom section here has all the post request information. The top has all the get request information. There's cookies up here at the top, and then break information. So what's actually being passed is all down in here. You can use this as an attack proxy. You can use this as, fuzzer, that type of stuff. You can input everything you want that you can do in Burp Suite basically into this. Burp Suite is a lot easier, if you ask me, from an attacking standpoint. But we even though we're using this to attack these modules, from a training standpoint, this program has everything here on one page. They're not having to click around. They're not having to, change anything. Everything they need, information is right here at their hands. So, this is why we went with this program for the training. Going through that whole list of modules for Security Shepherd, everything's here, and everything's down here. So they're not having to click different tabs to attack. They're not having to click different tabs to find pieces of information. Everything's just here on one page for them. And basically all you have to do, just change that to admin. Oops. And then when you submit the page and you go back, you'll see you're given the results. So I'm now able to be logged in as admin. You're given a key here. Oops. That key at the bottom. Basically, you just copy that right into the input box at the top, and you'll see that your name appears on the scoreboard. So this is the results from our hack jam. Actually, I haven't. So these are the results from our hack jam. And so it's just, making the game of it, making it, tools like this, tools like Security Shepherd, tools like that Zap, even though they're very basic, very easy tools for us to use, it makes learning these things so much easier for our employees, people who are trying to get interested in doing things like this. Let me go through one more on BWeb now. So one of the other tools we actually use for training, so that was the tool we used for the CTF. This is the one we actually use for training. You could get the BWeb from itsecgames.com. It comes in a VirtualBox VM, but we did a little config. It's, I think, just one line in XML, and we actually got it running on VMware. And that's how we set it up to run here. But basically, it's the same concept. You have all the different, you have A1 is injection, so the OWASP top 10, 1 is injection, 2, 4 is insecure data. So all the different sections, all the different modules are broken down by the OWASP top 10. So as you go through it, this one doesn't really give you results that, congratulations, you beat it. It's just more or less to show if you have something you weren't expecting to be able to do. Like I was able to get my name in bold because I was able to inject HTML into this. That right there doesn't really tell the user that, hey, congratulations, you actually broke this. So what I did is I put together a PDF. I actually found a whole bunch of PDFs online. Just took screenshots of all these, walked them through how to break it, what the results should look like. That's all out on that WordPress site that I'll link to here at the end of this talk. But like again, just like the Security Shepherd, you have everything broken down by the OWASP top 10. So as you're going through trying to learn these different things, everything's here with that PDF of how to break all these different modules. And I don't have every single one broken, but most of them. It's just a good tool. Finally, I used this WebGo. Now with WebGo, there's a couple different versions of this. I gave them the local version. I gave him the local version, and it turns out it's not that great. There's a lot of bugs in it, the local version. Next time we go through this, I'll probably get the web version and set it up just like I did BWeb. But I wanted to give them something that they can take home and play with. A lot of our employees have laptops, so they could just install this WebGo right on their laptop. The BWeb and the Security Shepherd were on servers here, so they couldn't connect to those unless they, I just wanted something that they can have to take home and play with. But you'll see most of this is set up generally in the same site. If you want to do a training on cross-site scripting, you just get right into there. It's basically set up the same way as the BWeb, where you input something. It doesn't necessarily tell you, congratulations, you broke this, but if you're able to do something you weren't expecting to do, that's how you know that you solved that module. There is a challenge to this one as well. Works basically like the CTF. So this is probably what I'll try to use next time around through this, the training and everything. Just get the full version of the web application, put it out there. As we go through this, again, everything will appear in OWASP just the same way. The BWeb, a lot of the stuff appears up here as GET requests. There's not so many post parameters with that one. So there's a little bit of a learning curve there for them, just because they're used to seeing the GET stuff up here, and all of a sudden during the CTF they started seeing post stuff. So that's one thing I have to work on better for next time, is to demonstrate all that. But again, these tools are free, they're easy to use. All three of these broken web applications, the ZAP program, it's free, it's easy. Our users had no problem with them. But that's that. Any questions on any of those? Nope. All right, that's my talk. Thank you. Thumbs up.